All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Round of Big Time Hoops podcast. And when it comes to big time, I guess no more big time than professional hoops. And we got a professional ball player with us, home for the holidays, and a York native. We got Shannon Todd. Shannon, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. As I just mentioned before we started recording, you're home for the holidays, right? Just got home. What was it? Yesterday, the day before?
Yeah, yesterday, the day before yesterday, but at night it was really late. Like
and been gone for a while. 2 months, right? 2 months overseas, just away from home, away from it all. How does it feel being back?
Oh my gosh, it feels so great. I definitely miss my family and missed home and just kind of like the way of life here. So
yeah, things are a little bit different over there, I'm guessing, which we'll get to. But what's vacation look like for you? Because as I mentioned off the top, playing professional ball, so I'm guessing you got to stay in shape, be ready to go, get ready for the next call. So what's the vacation going to look like here?
Well, I'm definitely taking some time to just relax and be with my family because I'm definitely like tired. My body's tired. It's just kind of like a grind there. So I'm definitely going to take some rest. But yeah, I'm going to start running pretty soon. I mean, I enjoy running anyway, but just anything to stay in shape and to stay ready. Because once you stop, it's just kind of like it's hard to get back into it. So
yeah, and I'm guessing the toughest thing right now is normally whenever you come home for like school break or whatever, it'd be easy to find a gym, get in there, stay in shape, whatever. But right now, like gym space must be tough to come by. Do you have that already?
I haven't even really looked into that. There's a gym kind of down the road from mine, but it's hard to get into, and especially with COVID getting worse here as well, I'm not really sure if that's going to be possible. So I'm going to have to go back to what I used to do and play in my driveway on the ice, and it's going to be tough, but It's fun.
Got to do it. So like normally, this is your first year being away from college ball, high school ball. So pretty much your entire life, like you'd be deep in it, like, right? Mm-hmm. Getting into conference play, all that type of stuff. Like, what's it like right now? Like, you're still playing professionally, but it's a different grind, right? It's a different responsibility. What's this time of year like? Because it's definitely not the normal routine you're probably accustomed to.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I mean, we're expected no matter what to do our jobs, and that's to win. Mm-hmm. We lost the last couple games before break, so that was tough because you always want to go into a break winning. But I mean, we just got to do what we got to do. Keep working hard. Keep like producing, I guess.
What's this year been like for you? Because you wrapped up your college career in the winter, which was cut short because of COVID, right? I'm guessing the end of the season got interrupted like everyone else. Mm-hmm. And then, but playing professional ball the last couple of months, what has like the entire year been like for you?
It's been crazy. I mean, it was definitely a sad time, my end of my college career, but I'm grateful that I had a great 4 years there and I could actually have my senior season, which a lot of people can't have right now. So I do feel bad for the college athletes that are seniors right now. It's been really a roller coaster. Right when I got home, I started looking for agents, and that was a tough decision. And I didn't actually get signed until really late, so like October. So I actually went to Portugal first and filled in for an American there. She was injured. She broke her hand. So I was there for 5 weeks. I had a 5-week contract. And then they actually invited me. They couldn't keep me as a player, but they invited me to stay in Portugal and practice until I got another contract. But I ended up being signed like right away, right when my contract was up. And then I went to Calais, France, to fill in for another injured player. So that was a 5-week contract. So right now I'm not on their team anymore. I wait to hear if I'm getting my contract extended December 28th. So it's just been a lot of like in the air stuff, and I've been thrown into situations that I'm not used to and I'm uncomfortable with, but I just kind of had to learn to just go with the flow, and whatever happened was going to happen. I mean, in Portugal, I was playing a guard, which is my position, and then in France, I was a forward, like a stretch 4. So
completely different.
Very different.
Yeah. So this should be like a relaxing time of the year. There should be relaxing holidays, but I'm guessing it's like a stressful anxiety.
It's stressful, but I mean, I'm gonna just enjoy the time that I have home. And if I don't get my contract extended for this season, I have my agent has a couple teams that are interested in me for next season. So that's the only reassuring thing, is that I think I can play another season. But I definitely want to finish out this one, because I mean, I don't want to just sit at home for a couple months.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. So we're going to come back. We're going to come back full circle and talk about what you're doing or what you've been in the last couple of months here. But I want to go back and kind of trace your story. So you graduated from York, state champion, which we'll get to. But were you born and raised in York? Is York your hometown?
Yes, York is my hometown. I was born and raised in York. I love it here. It's definitely a small town feel, but I love where I live, and I have a really close family, but that's all pretty much in York. I have a couple. My mom's side is in Mass, and then the rest of my family's here in York. So it's definitely I've definitely got some deep roots here. My dad was born and raised here. He's went to York High School, so he's been here for his whole life.
What's it like growing up in York as a kid? I went to York for the first time in my life 2 years ago. It was in the spring, so it's kind of quiet. And I was like, this is nice.
Yeah.
And I went back this summer and I tried going to the beach, and I was like, fuck this. I'm not. There's no place to park. Like, there's no place to get around. I'm not sticking around.
How do you think we feel?
That's what I want to know. I want to know what's it like growing up in York. Like as a child, you're just like, what the hell is all this? Like,
I know. I love it here. I love growing up here because it's very quiet in the winter.
Yeah.
But I think my grade in general is really close. So I think just brings you together when there's really nothing to do.
Yeah. Where do you kids congregate? Like, what do you kids do? Do you kids go down to the beach and mess with tourists? Do you guys have your own other areas off the beaten path that maybe that you guys hang out with? Like, what do you guys do growing up?
Yeah, we go to, in the summer we go to the beach every day, especially my grade. We didn't even have to ask if anyone was going to be there. You'd just show up. You'd show up and our entire grade was there. So that was a really cool thing, because people don't understand when I explain that.
Yeah.
So it's cool to just kind of have that as a known thing for all of us. We just kind of did what any high school kids did, hung out. We went on beach cruises, drove around, just kind of chilled, hung out.
At any point, did you have it's like a typical beach job? Like, did you work at a storefront, lifeguard, anything like that, or were you just enjoying?
Yes, I worked it's called Oceanside. It's right near the bathhouse on Long Sands Beach. I worked there for a year. I think that was my very first job, and then I got a different job after that, and it was just a waitressing job at a restaurant in Portsmouth. But yeah, I did have a classic beach kid job.
There you go. And then obviously you love basketball now because you're doing it professionally, but what was it like growing up? Was it a love at first sight, or were you just into all sports and then eventually you kind of gravitated towards basketball? What's your love story with basketball?
I was very athletic, into all sports. I loved soccer pretty much just as much as I loved basketball. And up until I went to college to play basketball, I played soccer for just as long. But soccer and basketball were my two favorite sports. Basketball, I picked up a ball at a very young age. My dad loved basketball. He was really good at basketball. He had a good career at York too. So I just think being in a basketball family just made me love it. I was at the gym watching my older brother. Literally every game people would be like, you were just on the court. They would have to grab you off the court when the quarter was up or whatever, when they were coming out for halftime and I drove my parents crazy. I would never want to leave until I made a layup, a foul shot, and a three in a row. I had to do it.
Those are good habits. Those are good habits to develop at a young age right there.
Yeah. So I was kind of just obsessed and I loved watching my brothers. I wanted to go to all their games. It wasn't even an issue for me.
Were you the type of kid that went to tournaments as a kid, kind of followed the high school scene? I'm guessing that the York teams made the tournament. You probably go watch those games. But
oh yeah, I grew up.
What was going on?
Yeah, I have a family friend. Well, my cousin Stephanie Gallagher, she played for York High School, had a good career. And in the same class, she had Nikki Taylor, and that was a close family friend. Our parents were best friends. So she played at Vermont. Stephanie played at USM. And so I just grew up watching those girls. My mom coached, when I was really young, my mom coached the freshman team in the high school. So I would go after school to all her practices. I was obsessed with the girls. I'd go to every game, and me and my friends that also played basketball for like the travel team, we would sit right in the middle, like at half court, and give all the girls high fives, like in the layup lines and warm ups and stuff like that. So
that's what it's all about. That's what made high school basketball is all about, right there.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's exactly it.
You mentioned being a kid and like the whole having to make a layup, having to make a free throw thing when you were young. Did you develop any habits that have kind of stuck with you, like practice habits that you did like from middle school into high school that you still do or need to do every time you're on the basketball court?
Yeah, I mean, superstitions have changed for me. I've listened to the same song before a game.
Can you let us know what that is? That's
Till I Collapse by Eminem.
Okay, there we go. It's a good one.
So that's probably the one thing that's been consistent. I've listened to the same song. I have to listen to it or I feel like we're going to lose. But yeah, that's probably the only superstition I really have. I mean, just practicing and stuff. My dad has always kind of guided me through that. And my parents have always told me, like, at a young age, like, if you want to be good, like, you need to work hard. You need to work hard at your goals, whatever they are. We don't care what they are, but if this is what you want to do, you got to work at it. So I just think that has been instilled in me, just hard work and, like, getting reps. My dad has always been big on that, like, practice, get your reps. Like, that's the only way your shot is going to go in. So
what does the Shannon Todd reps workout look like? How many you got to hit?
So I have to hit at 7 spots. I have to hit 10. And then I go to 3 at 5 spots. I have to hit 10 as well. It was like, it's increased as I've like moved up levels.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I like to switch it up because I get kind of bored. So I'll sometimes do like in a row, like 5 in a row, or from 3, like get 3 in a row. I'm very like competitive with myself, especially like shooting drills. So just kind of like writing down my scores and like my progression has been like a big thing for me. And then working on like, I'm big on like, well, my dad is big on, so it's kind of transferred to me. Just like getting a lot of reps at 2 and in close, rather than just like shooting threes. Cause a lot of people go in the gym and they just jack threes and just keep shooting threes. But your form, like the only way to practice your form is to start close and kind of work your way out. So that's what I try to do. That's
my thing too. Starting close, back up, take a step back, take a step back, take a step back. Yeah.
Sometimes I don't even practice threes. And I'm a shooting guard. Like that's my true position. So the 3-point shot is like my favorite. That's my go-to. So, yeah. But sometimes I don't even rep threes. It's more about like just repping my form closer.
That's how you get better, right? Good form, good results, repetition. It's all in there. Coming into high school, did you set goals for yourself? Obviously you accomplished a lot, but coming in as a youngster, did you have like realistic goals? Did you like lay out, I want to accomplish this while I'm at work?
So like, honestly, I had a like tough 8th grade AAU season. I played up on a team in 9th grade, and it kind of opened my eyes. It was the New England Crusaders out of Massachusetts, and it kind of opened my eyes because I realized I just wasn't that good because it's just kind of like small town, big fish in a small pond.
Yeah. So like I
had a tough 8th grade, 9th grade AAU season. But going into high school, I set a goal. I wanted to win a state championship because I'd watched my cousin and then Nikki Taylor, win state championships and go to state championship a lot. So that was my biggest goal. And that was my 2 best friends played basketball too. And they played all 4 years with me in high school. So that was like our main goal. And then I wanted to score 1,000 points. That was definitely a goal of mine, but it wasn't as big as the state championship. That was like my dream.
So you mentioned you ran with the New England Crusaders, and being in New York, you're pretty much, not pretty much, you are like as far south as you can go. So like growing up, like how much time did you spend like playing like in New Hampshire, Massachusetts versus stuff in Maine?
Most of my time.
Yeah.
I never really, I mean, like when I was younger, we played in a lot of, like my mom was our travel coach. So we would go and play in like different tournaments in Maine. But as I got older and I played AAU, I started off playing in New Hampshire for the Spartans when I was in like 6th grade. And then played for the Crusaders, who were out of New Hampshire. And then when I got older, they were out of Mass. So I spent a lot of time driving like 2 hours to practice. So that was tough. But I am actually grateful for that, because I think it just like made me a better player, being able to go there and play against a lot of different people. So
how familiar were you with other kids in your class in the state? Was it not till high school when you actually started playing against them, or were you did you already know like who was who?
A little bit. I mean, we would battle with Falmouth in travel tournaments. Like we would play teams like that. So I definitely knew of like different players, but I mean, definitely when I got in high school, it was more apparent, and it because we were playing against each other, we were following other teams, hearing about other teams. So
getting to high school freshman year would have been what, 2012?
Yep.
2012.
Yeah.
What was the journey like? Yeah.
Whoa.
So obviously you ended the end of your high school career with the state championship, but what was the progression up to it? Was it a gradual progression, a little bit better every year, or were you guys competing every year? What was the journey like from you guys from your freshman year to your senior year?
We were always pretty good, like all 4 years. My first year, I was young, I was a freshman, so I didn't really know who compared to us. Like I didn't know how good we are, but looking back, that team was actually pretty good. We got like upset in the tournament. I think we could have made it to like the Western Maine Championship, but I think we lost in the first or second round. But we were always like top of the pack, like 3, 4, like 1 through 4. But we definitely gradually got better every year. My grade was a consistent grade because there was 5 of us, and that you don't get that a lot. There was 5 seniors my senior year. So I don't think, like in high school, I think people like slowly quit or just dwindles as you get older. So I think we were like a solid group for us. And then my senior year, like that was our goal. My class, we were like, we're going to get it our senior year. We said it like sophomore year.
Who's York's rival? Or do you have a couple?
Like Wells is our rival. Like historically, that's our rival. Our rival, like my class's rival, was Greeley. We always had battles with Greeley. Every year was like a close game. And then Lake Region was actually one of our like competitions too, especially that was more in the beginning of my high school career. And like the Falmouth, Yarmouth, like that was all, Cape Elizabeth. I mean, we were all like battling.
Just a lot of good teams, a lot of good schools, a lot of good players right there, right?
Yeah. Seriously. Mm-hmm.
Is there, were there certain games you look forward to more than others? Like were there teams or players you kind of measured yourself up against that you just look forward to every year?
Oh, really? 100%. Yeah. I mean, I don't really like try to like put myself up against a player. It's more like, this is going to be a good game. Like I was excited for those games.
How about environments? Like where were the best gyms to go into and play? And were you more of like a road game person? Did you get jacked up, excited to play on the road? Or did you like big home games when the school would be coming to you guys?
Oh my gosh. My favorite is home games. I think my school had very good school spirit and support for girls and boys basketball. Especially like my grade, they were really supportive of us. So that was really cool. But I mean, going to Greeley is always tough. Going to Lake Region had crazy school spirit and student sections, they were brutal. But it was just fun because it hypes you up, and I'm kind of like, I definitely get hyped up when, just to kind of like shut the crowd up, stuff like that.
We talked about your team's progression to ultimately winning a state championship, kind of being in the mix, and finally accomplishing your senior year. How about player development? How did you get better from year to year? And did you go into each season trying to add something, or was it just kind of get better at everything? Like, what was your approach as a player?
Yeah, I was at York. I was a very like all around player because I'm 5'11", so I was pretty big. So my freshman year, I was actually like point guard, like 1-2, because we had 2 girls that were like 6'2". And then as I got older, I started playing more like defending the post, playing the guard, just because I was bigger. But I mean, essentially my goal was just, I've always wanted to be a good shooter, and that's what I've always really worked at. Stuff I've had to like work on that I'm not as good at is kind of like slashing to the hoop, because I'm a bigger player. So I also grew a lot going into my freshman year. So I was kind of like a little uncoordinated at first. I was actually a point guard, like growing up. I was small. Everyone else was bigger than me. And then I hit a crazy growth spurt, like 8th grade, 9th grade. And I was all of a sudden the tallest person. So I kind of had to get through that. So just kind of working on moves to the hoop and like my ball handling to keep that up while shooting.
You mentioned too that you played other sports, and I'm guessing you played them in high school as well, right? Soccer, softball? I played
every sport when I was younger, but it ended up being soccer, basketball.
So I just had Grace Martin on last week, and she was talking about how playing 2 sports helped her. You see it a lot of days now, or kids they focus on one sport and they just kind of get tunnel vision to do that. What can you say about playing 2 sports, especially like in high school, and how that helped you develop, and just how it contributed to you being a better all-around athlete and better basketball player?
Yeah. I think, oh my gosh, it helped me so much. I absolutely love soccer. I've loved playing it. I think it helped me a lot because it gave me a break from basketball when I was just completely like over it. I remember I used to tell my mom, like, once soccer season started, I'm not picking up a ball until it's over. And I would do that. Because I would play AAU all summer, and I would be going to, I played in the EYBL league. So I would be going to like Georgia, DC, like for the month of July, I was probably home for like 4 total days if I wasn't traveling or at an AAU tournament. So that was just, it made summer like very stressful, and like it was just very much about basketball. So once like mid-August hit and we started playing like soccer preseason, I was like, I'm not touching a ball until basketball season starts. And that's exactly what I did. And I think it just helped me not get burned out. I think it helped me like just kind of like see the game for like in a different light. It just made me like love it even more, like when winter came around. But soccer was fun. Like it was also a different like type of cardio. It was you use different muscles. It was more long distance. And so that was a good change of pace for my body too. But yeah, definitely 2 sports, 3 sports, whatever. My senior year, I did track for fun. I won a state championship with my track team. I barely qualified for states in the high jump, and then I was on like the 4x1 relay team, and I had a blast. It was I had so much appreciation for track athletes. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done.
A lot of fun though, right? I did track my senior year too, just because I had some other friends doing it, and wound up being a blast. Yeah.
It was just a bunch of us that weren't track athletes. And we were like, well, AAU's over. What are we going to do? Let's just do track.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you have it, kids. Don't be afraid to play more than one sport. You just heard all the benefits here from someone who's now playing professionally and how it helps you. So don't be afraid to try different things and play more than one sport. So you mentioned winning a track state championship your senior year. Also won a state championship in basketball your senior year, right? So going into it, you talked about how Greeley was kind of like that team that you kind of look forward to playing against. They won the year before you guys, right? They won in 2015. So coming into your senior year, you have one more chance to win a state championship. What was the journey like? Were you putting a lot of pressure on yourself? Was it pretty much smooth sailing all the way through? What do you remember most from that run?
I mean, it's such a long time ago, but
it was like 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
I know, but I mean, I think like at first, I think we were putting pressure on ourselves like preseason, but I think we were very much goal oriented, and we were going to take it one game at a time. And that started with my class, the seniors, like all 5 of us on the same page, very motivated to do it. That was just our biggest goal for our high school career. So it was definitely something that we tried to not pay attention to, because I think a lot of people too were putting pressure on us and saying like, this is the year for the York girls, blah, 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 blah. So we just tried to take it one game at a time, and we knew we were good, but we knew we had to keep our heads down and work hard. So that was just kind of the journey, kind of staying non-complacent, because we went 22-0, so we never lost. So that was like the biggest thing, was like just take it one game at a time, play our best, do our best. We're gonna have ups and downs, but in the end, we know what our goal is. So.
And you guys played Lawrence in the state championship, right?
Yeah.
And had they won? No, they didn't win the year before, but they hadn't won a champ. They did, right?
They won A, and Greeley won Class B, but the classes got changed. So we were Class B, and then we got moved up to Class A. Lawrence moved down to Class A because then the AA was created. Yeah. So we ended up beating the two previous state champions.
And the Miss Basketball that year, right? Nia Irving and the big bad Lawrence team. That's who you guys went up against?
Yep.
What do you remember most about going into that game?
Oh, my gosh. I was so nervous. I don't even remember the game. I literally cannot remember. I remember the buzzer going off, and that's it. And I made like the last 2 points of the game, and that's it. That's all I remember about the game.
Do you remember listening to Eminem before the game?
Nope, but I know I did.
Okay, you know you did though. Okay.
And we listened to our team song. We were very focused that game, especially in playoffs, because we knew exactly what we had to do. But we called it. My coach, Rick Clark, he was very big on preaching that too, taking it one step at a time, making it level by level. So like in the tournament, we had to play 4 games, I think. So just taking it each level by level and working our way up. But yeah, I don't remember a lot from the state championship game.
You remember the celebration? How does York celebrate a state title?
Oh gosh. Everyone met in the middle, was like hugging. I was in no celebration pictures. There's one.
There's one online. I've seen one online with you holding the ball with a couple of your teammates.
Oh yeah, the gold ball. Yes, yeah. I'm talking about like right after when the buzzer sounded. So like, I just like I threw the ball and just like melted to the floor and started like bawling, crying, and everyone was like celebrating in the middle. So there's like 2 pictures of me because I got there so late. One, I'm like sobbing. And the other is like me, like I'm just everyone's hugging. But I thought that was really funny because I just like totally melted because I was just like, my dream was, that was my biggest goal and I had just accomplished it. And that was all of our biggest goals. So it was a really special moment. After we had a crazy big student section, I have a twin brother, so he was in that. He's very loud. So he was in there like wreaking havoc. We got the gold ball and we just ran right over to our student section and we like just all celebrated as a school. So that was another cool moment. But it was just really special. Like the team that year was really special. We were all really close, and all on the same page. So that was really fun.
Do you still have your piece of the net that you cut down?
I have the whole net.
You do?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's right in my room.
All right.
I brought it to school every year too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I wonder what happens to the net, because sometimes you see it in the trophy case at the school with the gold ball, but you have it.
Yeah, so I think we forget. It's so funny, me and my friends from my senior class, we all talk about it. We don't remember who has what. I think I have the Western Maine one. Me and Chloe have the Western Maine one, Chloe Smedley. And then I think Erin McCafferty and Emma Thompson or Mia Briggs has the 2 state championship ones. So we have no idea which. So we just all consider it the same.
Yeah, you guys are all just saying you got this. You probably are all claiming the state championship one. That's probably what you tell people. So obviously you went on and played college ball and played at the highest level. Was that a goal you would set as well? Like playing Division I basketball, was that a goal that you had set?
So it was definitely going into, because I had mentioned earlier that I had kind of like a tough AAU season, and it opened my eyes, because I was kind of like, well, maybe this is like college basketball. I don't know. I even know if I can play at that level. But once I got into high school and I started I started working harder, and I was just that was definitely my goal. And it was something that I set, especially my sophomore, junior year, on my AAU team. That helped a lot to get seen. But it was definitely a big goal of mine once I kind of realized, you know what, I can do this. It's just going to take hard work.
And how to come down to Northeastern, and what was your recruiting process like? I always love to hear these stories and how you narrowed it down.
So I started getting recruited pretty early. The end of my freshman year, UNH started recruiting me. And then they were the first to offer me. So it was cool. I mean, it's really close to my house. They're like 30 minutes away. So I visited there a lot. And then going into my sophomore year AAU season, that was a huge year for me. I was just, because now we're at the age where the college coaches are actually going to be at your games. So, I mean, going to DC, playing in the EYBL tournaments was a huge thing for me, because I played in front of Gino. I've played in front of a lot of big time coaches, which was really cool. I've played against the girls in my grade that were at UConn, Stanford, things like that. So that was really cool, and it was just a very eye-opening experience, just AAU my whole high school career. But so I started getting a bunch of offers going into my sophomore year, and then going into my junior year. I think it was 10 full scholarship offers, and
that's it, just 10?
Which it was really cool. I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
But Northeastern actually wasn't really on the radar. They just called me. My coach, Kelly Cole, she just called me and was like, we want to offer you. And I get a little skeptical about that, because when people do that, it's kind of like a sign where it's okay, they don't really know you. They don't really they just they like you as a player. But I like coaches that recruit for if you're going to fit in with the team,
right.
They want to get to know you. If you're a hard worker, you're a good teammate, things like that. So I was a little okay, I don't know about this. But I want to give every team that offered me a chance. So I visited everyone, talked to all the coaches. But I actually didn't like Northeastern at first. I went on a really rainy day, and I was like, this is not for me. I didn't really know if I wanted to be in the city, so I was kind of iffy about that. But it came down to University of Delaware, Dartmouth, and Northeastern. I visited Northeastern a bunch of times after that. And then right after a tournament in Virginia in the beginning of my junior year, I committed to Northeastern. And I was really happy about that decision. And I absolutely loved my time there. So I'm really grateful for making that decision. And it took me a long time. My mom made a spreadsheet. I was confused, pros, cons, all that.
ultimately found a good home in Northeastern. And obviously, anytime you jump level, right, there's some adjustments to be made on the court. What was the biggest adjustment for you? I mean, obviously, you adjusted quite well. You made a bunch of starts as a freshman once you got there. So what was the biggest adjustment for you playing D1 college basketball?
God, a lot of things. I think the biggest thing was just the amount of time we were practicing. That was like, that's one of the biggest things like freshmen go through is like just the toll it takes on your body, because you're not really used to, you go from high school practicing like an hour and a half, and then we were practicing like 3 hours every single day. Like our preseason started October 1st and our first game was November 11th, and we would practice 6 days a week, 3 hours to the minute every single day. No games, no reward. Like that's your reward, is really games every week. So it's just hard. That first, we call it hell month because there's just nothing. You're just kind of practicing for the goal in a month. So it's definitely, I mean, the toll it took on my body, I was just tired all the time. You have to get used to being sore every day, 24 hours of the day. I mean, it gets better every year. Like I didn't feel like that going to my senior year because I think I was more prepared in the summer training and I knew what I had to do. But definitely going into my freshman year, I was like, whoa, this is a lot.
How about time management? How were your time management skills? Because that's something else you got to kind of balance when you get to college, right?
Yeah.
Just because you're constantly doing something.
Definitely. I think I actually had pretty good practice with that, like in high school, because of AAU. I had to drive like 2.5 hours. So I would come home like Tuesday, Thursday, and then on the weekends. But I would come home from school, either do homework for an hour or take an hour nap, and then I'd have to leave around like 3:34 for my practice at night, and I wouldn't get home till like 11. So when I started driving, I drove myself, but sometimes I'd be like, Mom, can you drive me? I need to do all this homework and studying in a 2-hour car ride.
Yeah. How about, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. Okay. I was just saying time management is definitely like a big thing.
Huge, right?
Going in, like in college, especially, like your time is like theirs. They can really do, they can do a lot with it. Practice, lift, volunteering stuff, team meetings, things like that. So you got to really use your time wisely.
And then also being at a mid-major, you wind up being some power conferences, teams, like season openers or like non-conference plays. So what were some of the big programs you played during your time in Northeastern? Who were some of the players looking back on you like, that's cool? Like you'll tell your friends, family, like 10, 20 years from now, we played here, we played against this person. Like, what were some of those games for you?
So my freshman year, we played it's called the Cancun Challenge in Mexico for Thanksgiving. And we played Wichita State, we played Stanford, and then one more team, I forget. But the two big teams were Wichita State, Stanford. My sophomore year, we played Michigan State at Michigan State. My junior year, we didn't play anyone crazy. I mean, we always played like A-10 teams, but they're still considered mid-majors. Some are considered mid-major, some are considered higher. My senior year, we played Oregon, so they were the #1 team in the country at the time. I played against Sabrina Ionesco, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I was starstruck. So that's the coolest thing that happened to me in college, was getting to play against her. I mean, she's a great player, but she's just a great role model and woman's athlete for kids to look up to, and she's done a lot with that and her voice. So I think it was just a really cool opportunity, and I actually got to like shake her hand because I was a captain my senior year, and she was a captain, so we meet in the captain circle, so we talked a little like, hey, what's up, this type of thing. So that was really cool for me too.
Cool. Who had the better game that game?
The team or
individual? You or her?
Well, she just actually, I played okay. She actually just had come off of a 30-point game against the USA women's team. They had just beaten them. We played them the literal next game after they just beat the USA women's team.
That would have been the perfect time for an upset. They were probably coming off a high. Like you guys.
No, they were. We actually weren't, like, we thought we were going to get blown out. Yeah. We only lost by like 20 or 30, which sounds like a lot, but we were thinking like one of those games where they score 100 and you score like 40.
The number one team in the country who had just beat the Team USA women's Olympic team or just national team, right?
The Olympic team.
Yeah, that's a story you could tell for the rest of your life. That's a good one right there.
Yes.
So, and then obviously playing professionally now. So did you know all along you wanted to play pro ball after college? Is it something you wanted to at least give it a shot, or is it something that you want to pursue for a career? Like what was the mindset heading up to this pro career you're embarking on right now?
Yeah, I think in college I kind of realized that was like an option, right? Like my freshman, sophomore year. One of my teammates who's a year older than me, she played in Germany for a year. She ended up not going back, but they wanted her back because she's a homebody and she didn't want to do this for her career. But so I was kind of like, it was an option for me, and it was definitely something I was interested in freshman, sophomore, junior year. Then my senior year came, and I was kind of like, if my body can take it, I'm going to do it. And when we we got sent home from our tournament. We never got to finish it, the CAA tournament. And that was kind of like, I think I wanted to play because maybe it was just like not really closure with basketball for me, but in my body, I still was like, I think I can do this. So it was definitely, I was just like, you know what, this is what I want to do. And then when we got sent home, that's when I started like my journey with it and trying to figure out a good agent for me and where I could possibly play and things like that. So
first stop along the way, Spain, right? Playing in Spain's Premier League. What's Portugal's Premier League?
Yeah, right? No, that's fine.
So what's the league called? And how was your Portuguese? Did you pick up any Portuguese while you were there?
Actually, it's very similar to Spanish. So a little bit. I was saying like, hey, what's up? Thank you, excuse me, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the league was called Liga Feminine. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right.
I'm guessing it's the women's league is what it translates to, right?
Yes. So it's the first league in Portugal. There's two leagues, the first league and the second league. So it was in the first league. Yes, I did pick up a little Portuguese kind of basketball terms too, which really helps because they're saying stuff in Portuguese like switch or like screens coming. You're like, I had no idea at first. So it was kind of like a stressful point because it's like they're talking to me and I'm just like messing stuff up because I have no idea what they're saying. And they're like, oh, sorry, my bad. Should have said it in English. And I'm like, you know what? It's not your bad. I should just know because I'm coming into your country and playing on your team. So let me just give me some time and I'll figure it out. So, but it was definitely like weird at first. It was hard. I had to just kind of completely change my mindset because in college, my coach was like, we need to do this, we got it. And I was one of the leaders on our team. So I had to kind of push that onto my teammates. And then when I got to Portugal, it's like, I have no idea what anyone's saying. So I'm just going to play how I think.
Yeah.
And it's like, if they think, if it's important, they're going to tell me. So that's what I would kind of do. Sometimes the girl next to me would translate for me, but if it wasn't that important, they wouldn't say anything. And I'd be like, all right, I'm just going to play my game, do what I think is best. And if they have a problem with that, then they're going to say it.
Yeah. So you mentioned you were there for a month and then over to Calais, over in France for you just finished up another month there. Can you tell me the challenges that it's like being in your situation where you're coming in, filling in for an injured player, and you're coming into a team that's already established. So you want to kind of fit in and be a member of the team, but at the same time, you're trying to earn a job. So you got to perform in order to get a job or to keep a job. Like, how do you balance that? How do you go in there and try to blend in, but at the same time, stand out? It's got to be a challenge.
It's definitely the weirdest situation I've been in. I say, like, I mean, I just had to go with the flow is all that I can say, because you want to stand out there's pressure. I need to perform. I need to put up numbers, because if I don't put up numbers, I'm not going to get another job. So that is one pressure. And on the other hand, I felt no pressure at the same time. So it's really hard to explain, but like no pressure, meaning like I'm not really tied to this team. Obviously I want to win because that's who I am. I don't like to lose. So I want to win and do what's best for the team in that light, but I also have to do what's best for me. So just playing my game and just going with the flow and not being too hard on myself was one of the biggest things I had to learn, because I'm very hard on myself and I want to please and I want to do what the coach wants, because that's who I am as a player. Like I listen, I'm a leader. So I have to kind of listen to what my coach says in college and get other people on board with that. So that was like the biggest switch up I had to go through, was just kind of like, you know what, I can't be too hard on myself, because I'm in this situation where sometimes they think they say something, but it's like the opposite of what they actually mean. But it's like because their English is okay. Yeah. So it's like I had to go through like getting yelled at, or not yelled at, but just getting told things that just confused me and were like opposite of what I actually thought they meant. So, but I mean, the biggest thing is just not being too hard on myself, because you're going to have up games and down games, but you got to stand out, you got to perform, and you just got to do what's best to win. So
another challenge too, 2 different countries in 2 months, 2 different languages. I mean, that alone right there, you're probably just getting
different cultures.
And now you got to learn French and learn how to talk those terms. Like, you should be spending your vacation right now just staying up on these languages. So
I know. Luckily in Portugal, it was easier for me to pick up stuff because it's a little bit similar to Spanish, which I took in high school. So I studied Spanish for like 4 years.
That's what I was going to ask. I was like, did you ever think that if you took a second language in high school, you were ever going to actually use it? And here you are, like, it's paying off.
But I will say, they always say, like, if you're trying to learn a language, study it and then go to the country, because once you're just thrown into it, you have to learn. And I didn't even study Portuguese, and once I was thrown into it, I picked up stuff pretty fast. So, like, I will say that is true. If you want to learn a new language, study it as best you can and then go to the country.
Just dropped into it and adapt.
Seriously. Yeah. But yeah, French was a little tougher because I didn't pick it up as fast, because no word, and even Portuguese, some words sound like English words, kind of like Spanish, but French, not at all. I was like lost. And also when they speak English, their accents are a lot thicker. Yeah. So it's harder to understand their English also.
My family's French. I'm from the French capital of Maine, and I took 6 years of French, and I still don't know a lick of French. I don't know French. So.
Yeah, it's hard. It is hard.
You mentioned how the way your body felt was going to kind of play it into if you're going to go play professional, if you're going to pursue it, and how you felt. How about mentally? I mean, you mentioned the commitment that college basketball is, just with all the time and effort you put into it, and now you're doing it as a profession. How are you from a mental standpoint and basketball-wise? Like, are you tired of it, or do you still love it? Is it still fun? Like, where are you at in that aspect?
Honestly, I will say, like, mentally after college was I was kind of a little bit done, but I just think playing professionally, it's more about basketball, and it's less about like, oh, we got to do this team activity or like team chemistry. Obviously we still do that stuff and we want to do team chemistry, but they treat us like professionals. And that's the one thing that I do love about it, because you put in as much as you want to get out of it. So like in college, it's more like, and you're also more tied to your college. You want to perform for your school. You want to have a good career in school. And obviously I want to have a good career professionally, but I'm not as emotionally and like mentally attached to this team. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's kind of like a break mentally, because they treat us like professionals. So like if if I'm having a bad day or like basketball is not my best friend right now, like then I don't go and work out or do the extra workout or come early. I show up and do my job, practice, and leave. So it's like it's just like a weird situation to like explain, but I actually like enjoy that part about it, because I can kind of just play basketball for what it is, for what I love about it, and that's what I love about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get out of here, I want to hit on some random things here, some random questions before we close things out. So I'll start with this one. Your 2016 New York team versus earlier Class A or Class B state champion teams, your cousin and Nikki Taylor's teams. Mm-hmm. Which team wins if you guys meet head to head?
Oh, God. They had a pretty good team.
You guys are 22-0, though. I don't know what they were.
I know. They I don't really remember, but I mean, obviously I got to go with my team.
Good answer. Good answer. You mentioned one of your goals that once you got to high school was scoring 1,000 points. I'm guessing you did that, and you did it in college. Which 1,000 was more difficult to get?
Oh, definitely high school.
It was more difficult in high school?
Well, it's just different. In college, you play way more games. So in college, you could average like 10 points a game and still get it. That's pretty much what I did. I pretty much averaged 10 points a game my whole career. And it didn't really change from that, my whole college career. High school, you have to average a lot more points. And also games, there's not, like, you can go far in the tournament or you can go, like, have a really quick tournament run. So that also is dependent on it. But I don't know. I just think you have to be more efficient with your games.
Makes sense. I'm guessing you're a competitive type. Just from the time we've been talking, I could tell you're competitive, right? You like to kind of compete and match yourself up against others. Are you still young enough to where when you come home, when you come back to York, you want to go play the kids that are at York High right now and let them know who the big dog is?
I don't know if I want to do that, but I think I still could.
Yeah. You don't feel the need. You don't feel the need to come in town and let everyone still know that, hey, like I still run York. I'm still the best from York. I
don't feel the need to do that, no.
Okay. Would you though, if there was a run right now? Because I know gym space is tough.
If they were like, oh, let's play. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I would definitely play.
All right, so this is my next question here. You kind of hinted at it, or you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. So I checked the Northeastern page, just to kind of check your resume real quick. Mm-hmm. Listed at 6 foot. You said you were 5'10".
No, I'm 5'11".
5'11". Okay. Do you add an inch, or what do you add to these rosters? And how tall are you listed over in France right now?
I don't know. They don't really have I'm pretty sure I'm listed in like the professional basketball database.
Like meters or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I don't even know. 100. I think I'm listed at 6 foot. I'm definitely 5'11" in like a little bit, but in college they just added an inch, so I just went with it.
Are you a legit 5'11" or is
yeah.
Up? Okay.
Yes.
I had another good one too, and I just lost it. Shit. I was looking at the All-State team your senior year. Some talented players. Maddie Hassan was on there. Mm-hmm. Nia Irving. Colleen Bouchard would have been a little bit younger than you guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure I know who that is.
Your teammate Chloe was 13 with the Bangor Daily News. If you had to pick 4 of the girls from your era, just to go up with, let's say today's current era. Like we talked about, if you came into town in New York and you needed to go compete against the young girls right now, if you had to pick 4 of the girls from your era to match up with any other era, who are you going to pick from Maine?
So 5.
You can you can be part of that 5, or you can just be the captain and you can pick 5.
Okay. Ashley Story, Nia Irving, Chloe, Anna DeWolf, and probably Maddie Hassan.
Yeah.
I'll just be team captain.
A lot of good players right there. It's not a bad team you just put together.
I know.
Before we get up out of here, I always give my guests the chance to say their final piece. If there's anything you want to touch on, anything else you want to let the people know, or anything at all, now's your chance. Now's your chance to say your piece.
I mean, thank you for having me on your podcast. This is a really cool experience. The Instagram is really cool. So I just think this is a really cool thing that you're doing with Maine basketball, because people don't really understand, unless you're a Mainer, Maine basketball is huge.
Yes,
and especially the support for women's basketball here, it's so great. And I think just continuing that for me is like very important, because I am a very big believer in equality in sports and things like that. So I just think this is really cool, and I appreciate you having me on. And it was really nice to meet you.
Absolutely. And now that you bring it up, I should ask you this. So you were drafted in the fantasy draft we had last week, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm trying to see who else is on your team, and I want to see what your thoughts are.
I saw it. It's shoot, why am I blanking?
You've been all over the place last week. You were on the all-decade team. You were drafted in the fantasy draft.
I was.
I got these teams somewhere. Oh, here we go. You were on Team Lon Berthium. So you, Mackenzie Holmes, Maddie Hassan, Mia Rapola, yourself, Sophie Holmes, and Kaylee London. How do you feel about your team versus the other teams? And who'd you vote for? You can let us know who you voted for.
Oh, I voted for my team, of course. But who was the first? Why am I forgetting her name? She's at Indiana right now.
Yeah, Mackenzie Holmes.
Yeah, she's killing it.
She is.
I am like so impressed. But I mean, I think my team's really good. I actually just like, it's weird because I think a lot of those girls know each other from more northern Maine, and I think just because I'm very southern Maine, I didn't actually get to meet a lot of these girls until my senior year, and we played in McDonald's All-Stars together. And so I met Naya, played against Naya in the McDonald's game, played with Maddie Hassan, and we just became very friendly. Like, they're great girls. So I mean, it's cool to be drafted in the fantasy league on their team. But yeah, and then me and Naya, I mean, she went to BU, so we played pickup in the summer together when we were training in the summer. And she's a really cool girl and like a really good player. So it's cool to just kind of like have that like main connection. And she was my last, I played against her in the state championship, and then my first game in college, we played against each other. Cool. She was injured, but it was really cool because like who gets to say that? It's weird.
So I got two more questions. Actually, I just thought of based off the stuff you just said. So you mentioned being from southern Maine and not really having connections or relationships with a lot of the girls from more northern Maine. Being from the southern tip, because I'm from the northern tip, and we have a chip on our shoulder because we feel like we get slept on because we're way up north. Being way down south, even though you're like in the mix right there where everything's going on in southern Maine, do you feel like York and that area gets neglected as well? Do you have a chip on your shoulder being from southern Maine?
A little bit. I think we get slept on a little, but we do get the benefit of getting attention from New Hampshire, so you don't get that benefit. But so yeah, I definitely feel like we were like just a little bit more disconnected from like the main basketball world. I mean, I still obviously feel a part of it, but it's not as strong as more northern and like central Maine. But I don't really have a chip on my shoulder about it.
And then finally, I'm working on something here where you talked about how the girls scene is so good in Maine. There's so much talent.
Yeah.
And there's no girls tournaments in the summertime. There's like no premier Maine women's basketball tournament. So I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to get something going here.
Okay.
But if it does happen, I'm going to throw in a team. I'm going to throw in a team big time. I've already got some commitments. I got Mackenzie Holmes signed up, Emily Esposito signed up, Anna DeWolf is signed up. Will you play on team big time?
I'm signed up.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
My team's getting too stacked for this unofficial tournament. I might need to stop having invites here because I got some talent on my team. But yeah, there we go. All right, Shannon Todd, you heard it, ladies and gentlemen. She's going to be down with Team Big Time. Thank you to Shannon This is good. We got to sneak it in. The timing was right. It reached out like I think yesterday, and here we are today making it happen. So thank you for making time for us. I really appreciate it.
Of course, yeah.
That's going to do it for this week's episode of Big Time Hoops, the podcast. Make sure you're checking out all the previous episodes wherever you get your podcasts. And see you next week for another big time episode of Big Time Hoops, the podcast. See you.